And a really interesting matchup tonight for the Golden State Warriors as we get you set here on Warriors Live, presented by Xfinity. Stream sports from the best seat in the house with Xfinity. Bring on the good stuff. Golden State and New York, the Warriors and the Knicks. 5:30 tip, all right here on 95.7 The Game. My name is Evan Giddings, live at Splash from Thrive City, right outside of Chase Center. Pop on by, grab a brew, grab a burger, and get yourself ready for what I think is going to be a pretty interesting basketball game. And for a couple of reasons. The Warriors are absolutely rolling. The Knicks are a little bit banged up. And this is a matchup that we've seen relatively recently. The Warriors went into Madison Square Garden amidst their 5-game road trip, in which they went 4-1. One of those wins was against the Knicks, 114-102. And now the Knicks get an opportunity to try and enact some revenge here on the road. Now, the biggest matchup difference in this game is the fact that Karl-Anthony Towns is active for today. He was inactive for the game at Madison Square Garden due to a personal reason. He was at a funeral, as we found out. And now Jalen Brunson is out with a sprained ankle. For the Warriors, they are closer to full strength than they were last time they faced the Knicks, because while Brandon Podziemski is still out, and we got some good news on his back injury from Steve Kerr pregame, Jonathan Kuminga is active for this game. Had a really nice 20-minute stint against the Sacramento Kings in that drubbing a couple of nights ago, and he had 18 points in those 20 minutes and looked, I thought, really fresh. Didn't look like a player that had spent 31 games on the sideline, and looked kind of seamlessly fit into what the Warriors are doing, which is over the last 15 games. Again, they've gone 13-2. The number 2 team in net rating, top 5 in terms of offense and defensive rating. So they're obviously playing some very good basketball. But to me, this begins the first of the 3 tests that we've seen for Golden State. I would say probably the 3 games, a 3-game stretch that's going to be their most difficult since they've acquired Jimmy Butler. And I don't think the Knicks are a pushover, although the Warriors are 7.5-point favorites for this game. I believe it opened at 6.5, has since been bet up to 7.5 in favor of the Warriors. So money coming in on Golden State. Got some thoughts on that in just a moment. But the Knicks are a hard-nosed, physical basketball team that plays all of their best players. I was just looking at this before the show. If you look at the top 5 3-man combinations in terms of minutes played in the NBA, all 5 are the New York Knicks. And there's some combination of Karl-Anthony Towns, Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges, Jalen Brunson, who is out, and OG Anunoby. That is their starting 5 when they're at full strength. Those guys, under Tom Thibodeau, are run into the ground. And maybe it's a reason why they fall short in the postseason. I'm not so sure. But all I do know is that, Miles McBride is probably going to play instead of Jalen Brunson tonight. But you're going to see those guys a lot. So if you like starting basketball, if you like starting players on opposing basketball teams, get to know them. They're going to be on the floor a lot tonight. All right, so as far as Jonathan Kuminga's role, how does it grow? I think it's going to grow incrementally. And I think it helps that, obviously you don't want Podziemski to be hurt, but I think it helps from the standpoint that there's more minutes to go around, because Pods was a player who was playing close to 30 minutes a night prior to his injury. And that means there's more minutes available. I think once he comes back, things are going to be a bit more clogged. And Steve Kerr said pregame that it's going to be very difficult to play more than 10, but even a 10-man rotation is something that he doesn't really want to do. I think identifying this team's top 9 is the next task, and how Jonathan Kuminga is going to be able to play alongside, in all probability off the bench, this new version of the Warriors is going to determine how much he plays. I thought he looked really good against Sacramento. Gave me no reason to believe he can't continue to do that. But tonight, is it going to be 25 minutes against the Knicks? Is it going to be 20 again? I thought he was hyper efficient. He didn't take all but 1 3-point shot. He got to the free throw line 3 different times, made 4 of 6, and got inside off of some dunks. And a few of them were in garbage time against the Kings, but against the Knicks, who are not a team that really plays with a ton of rim presence when Karl-Anthony Towns is on the floor. I actually think that Kuminga, for example, might have had a bit more of a challenge when Cat was out at MSG, because Mitchell Robinson makes them a better defensive team at protecting the rim. Now, overall, they're a lot bigger. They're longer than the Sacramento Kings, but Karl-Anthony Towns is not a great rim protector, though he is a 7-footer. So I do wonder if Kuminga is going to have as much success when Cat is on the floor, which, according to the New York Knicks, is going to be probably for about at least 40 minutes tonight. The other part of the pregame, as I mentioned, the rotation, a shrinkage is somewhat imminent. It's going to be hard for Steve Kerr to play more than 10 guys. And so if you look at this Warriors roster, you're looking at obviously the starting five, which we've seen them continuing to play small tonight. And as they have the past few games since Pods got hurt with the back injury in Brooklyn, Quentin Post is probably going to be at the 5. I think this matchup also favors him because Karl-Anthony Towns is not a player that generally plays around the rim. He's a perimeter-based 5 and kind of a modern big. Takes a lot of threes. Has had a lot of success against the Golden State Warriors when he was with Minnesota. And so now we get to see him and if that will continue on the Knicks. But defensively, is it going to be Post? Is it going to be Draymond Green? I think that also the Warriors can get away with putting out a few wings on Cat because, again, he's out of the three-point line. He's not someone that's going to play you down generally in the post, back you down, try and take advantage of his 7-foot frame. And so I think that the Warriors are going to be able to play with a little bit of a hybrid of maybe it's Butler, maybe it's Moody on Cat. They're switching things. Draymond will step out. Quentin Post can step out there. And I just think that there's different ways that they're going to have to try and neutralize him because Karl-Anthony Towns, in my opinion, with Brunson out, is by far and away their best offensive threat, and I got some numbers to back that up in just a moment. The other kind of pregame storyline, which a win would help improve, not just the Warriors to 14-2 over the last 16, 12 straight with Jimmy on the floor, is the fact that Steve Kerr is officially tied with the late, great Al Attles, 557 all-time wins. And Steve Kerr has now been here since 2015, wrapping up his 10th season. And what he's done as head coach of the Golden State Warriors, I want to expand on it a little more so after, win or loss, ideally after a win, so we can really have that conversation. But his 650, or near 650, 648 winning percentage is pretty much one of the best of all time. It's top 15, a little bit ahead of Pat Riley's 636, a little bit below Red Auerbach's 661. But of coaches that have coached for more than 10 years in the National Basketball Association, Steve Kerr, in terms of winning, I mean, that's kind of just what he's done. And obviously he stepped into an awesome situation, but what he credited pregame I thought was interesting, and it was organizational stability. And I think the organizational stability obviously starts with ownership and Joe Lacob, the front office of what was Bob Myers and now is Mike Dunleavy Jr., and then obviously Steph Curry, who has been the best player in Warriors franchise history. And when you are a part of a stable franchise, you're going to have a chance to win a lot of games. And I also think it's bought Curry a lot of trust from this front office and ownership group because he said in other franchises he might have been fired after 2021. Again, on the heels of, a horrible second-to-last place season in the NBA in 2020 during the pandemic and a 2021 year in which they made the play-in but did not make the playoffs. They might have decided to make a head coaching change. And it was a good thing that they didn't because Steve Kerr ended up, I think, doing one of the greatest jobs as a head coach in recent memory, which is coaching that 22 team to an NBA title. And he's had a lot of help since he's obviously stepped into the league. But I think where we've seen Steve Kerr take strides as a head coach has really been after Kevin Durant left this team. And in many ways, it's been one of the big reasons why a lot of people's legacies or the narrative surrounding a lot of the champions in Golden State, I think, have been ratcheted up in a positive fashion since that point. Steve Kerr, among active head coaches in terms of wins, is number 5. Number 6. He's actually just behind Tom Thibodeau, ironically, the coach that he's going to be going up against tonight. But Spoelstra, Carlisle, Doc Rivers, Greg Popovich, the only ones in front of him. And then in terms of active head coaches, in terms of winning percentage, there's actually only one that is ahead of Steve Kerr, and that is Joe Mazzulla, who has won 73% of his games since stepping into the Boston Celtics head coaching gig 3 seasons ago, and has a ring as of late as to prove it. So, a couple of interesting notes. Steve Kerr, again, trying to pass the great Al Attles, one of the all-timers, the late great Al Attles, one of the greatest Warriors and certainly Warriors head coaches of all time. All right, time for tonight's injury report, brought to you by Boxer & Gerson, Northern California's premier workers' compensation law firm, helping injured workers get their lives back for over 40 years. For more information, visit boxerlaw.com. Evan Giddings getting you set for Warriors and Knicks coming up at 5:30. At the top of the hour, Tim Roy, voice of the Golden State Warriors, will have the remainder of your network pregame and set the scene for tonight between Golden State and New York. Right outside Chase Center here at Splash at Thrive City. Stop by, grab a brew, grab a burger. I can also catch a post-game. Looking forward to Warriors wrap-up after what I believe is going to be a good game. But as for the injury report, couple of good pieces of news. Brandon Podziemski in particular is going to have a target date of Tuesday. So he's inactive tonight, dealing with a back injury he suffered on the last game of the road trip against Brooklyn. Tightened up, left in that first quarter. Have not seen him on the floor since. He's been giving it a go in pregame for the past couple of contests. Hasn't felt 100%. And obviously the Warriors, with how much winning they've done, aren't in a position where they really need to push him. I think that was kind of the same case with Kuminga to a much larger extent because it was a worse injury. But Pods is supposed to be back on Tuesday, barring a setback. That'll be against the Milwaukee Bucks. So they will not have him on Monday against the Denver Nuggets, which is going to be a tall task. But they'll get him for the tail end of the back-to-back, which might end up benefiting the Warriors a little bit more because, not much rest between Monday and Tuesday, and you're going to get a little bit of reinforcements there, so looking forward to that. Meanwhile, on the Knicks side, it's Jalen Brunson that is missing this game with an ankle sprain. He went down on March 6th against the Los Angeles Lakers in overtime. He was having an awesome game, had 39 points, rolled his ankle pretty badly. The reports are he's going to be missing multiple weeks. It's already been 1 week and is going to be out for this foreseeable future for New York. In his midst, or during the time that he's missed, they are 2-1 officially. I guess 2-2 if you include the Lakers game, but really 2-1 without him. And the lone losses come to the Los Angeles Clippers. They recently are on the heels of an overtime victory against the Portland Trail Blazers. For those who didn't catch that game, I can't necessarily blame you because it was against the Blazers, who obviously played the Warriors pretty tough on Monday. But that following game was one of the most back-and-forth NBA games that I have seen in a long time. I believe there was 43 lead changes, and it ended with a Mikal Bridges three-pointer down 2 in overtime at the buzzer to beat Portland in Portland. It was an awesome shot, and it capped an awesome game. Heartbreaking loss for Portland, big win for New York, and I wonder just how now with, of course, a few days off. Like we talked about how the Warriors are beginning a tight stretch of basketball, 4 in 6 nights, 3 in the next 4 nights, but they also had at least a little bit of a break between Thursday and today. New York's been sitting pretty. They played on Wednesday, probably got down here, had an off day on either Thursday or Friday, and then kicked their feet up and are waiting at the Four Seasons for Golden State to get ready for them here at 5:30. It's also a nationally televised game, so a lot of people are going to be watching. I think an intriguing matchup that, again, the Warriors were opening favorites at 6.5 points, has been since moved to 7.5 points. But the Knicks are a team that I thought the Warriors, the last time they played them, that was their most impressive win. 114-102 on March 4th and at MSG. They were down 8 at the half. I thought the Warriors were a little bit sloppy out of the gates, but New York's physicality, and again, I think they're a little bit of a different team with Karl Anthony Towns. Not that they're better or worse. I think they're probably better with him, and when they're at full strength, obviously, they love to have him. But that team with Mitchell Robinson at center, I thought was a little bit of a more physical, kind of tough testing matchup for the Warriors, who just got beaten and bruised and ended up fighting through it. Because, again, they won by 12 points, but that was a close game down the stretch in which the Warriors' defense, to me, won them that game. Moses Moody was awesome against Jalen Brunson in that game and did a really good job of ball denial. Brunson only took, I think, 2 shots down the stretch in the final 5 minutes, and it was because Moody was denying him, was forcing the ball out of his hands, and now the Warriors don't have to worry about, I think, kind of the straw that stirs the drink for the Knicks in Jalen Brunson. The guy they will have to worry about tonight, though, is Karl Anthony Towns. And as it brings it to our Fremont Bank, take it to the bank prediction. Fremont Bank, full-service banking with no compromises. To me, the number I am looking at is for Karl Anthony Towns. And the reason being, I really like Karl Anthony Towns' over on points, rebounds, and assists tonight, which is 37.5 points. I don't necessarily know if it's going to result in a Knicks win, but I think that Cat, number one, probably is going to be playing on with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, considering Draymond Green saying before last meeting that He felt like Cat wasn't playing because he got the Jimmy Butler flu, essentially. Came out that Cat was at a funeral for his significant other's best friend. And I think he's playing with maybe a little bit of fire tonight. But also, take away the side show. Cat has balled when Jalen Brunson has not been on the floor. So, per 100 possessions, Cat averages 29.8 points per 100 possessions with Jalen Brunson on the floor. When Brunson's not there, Karl Anthony Towns averages 42.5 points per 100 possessions. His assists go down a little bit, but overall, his rebounds go up. So to me, you can either look at the points, rebounds, assists. You can look at the points and rebounds. Those would be ones that I would personally take tonight because I think we're going to be seeing an aggressive Karl Anthony Towns and one that, again, you could make of the extracurriculars, the narratives. You can factor that in if you like. But the fact remains that without Jalen Brunson, Cat has been a significantly better player for the New York Knicks over the course of this season. I also am a little worried that this might be a night for Cat, considering the Knicks haven't really gotten that big Cat game as of late. You look at what he did against Portland, had around 30 points, but Sacramento only 26. Against the Clippers, only 23. I think we might be due for a big Cat game, and I think it might come on a national stage. So Draymond Green's obviously going to have the initial assignment against Cat. I think Quentin Post might be matched up on him at some points, and the Warriors might even throw some different wings at him because Cat is, again, a perimeter-based player. So that's someone I would look at. To me, the line itself, the 7.5 or 6.5, wherever you got it, it's not a line that I would feel bad about if I'm betting the Warriors tonight, but that is predicated on ball control. If the Warriors turn the ball over less than 15 times tonight, I believe they cover against the Knicks. If they don't, which, by the way, they have not their last 4 games, and I talked about this a lot earlier this morning on Warriors This Week, the Warriors have not been very careful with the basketball, and I think that their sloppiness over the last 4 games in particular, though they've won them, might catch up with them tonight against a team like New York, who is generally very good at taking care of the ball. Now, obviously, a lot of it has to do with Brunson. He's not a turnover-prone point guard. Is it going to be in the hands of Josh Hart? Is Mikal Bridges, or probably more so OG Anunoby, going to initiate sets? Is Miles McBride going to be involved as a ball handler for the Knicks? I'm not so sure. But the fact remains that they are a top 10 team in terms of ball security. The Warriors have been a top 17 in terms of turnovers forced since Jimmy Butler's gotten here. But again, if they win that battle, and I think more so if the Warriors can keep their own turnovers below 15, they will win this basketball game by 8 points or whatever the line is for whoever got it at 6.5 or 7.5. But they've been averaging 17.5 turnovers per game the Warriors have over the last 4. And maybe more importantly, the number that I'm afraid might catch up to them is the average of nearly 20 points per game off of turnovers for their opponents. If that happens tonight against the Knicks, I think it's going to be really hard for them to, number one, cover, but to win this game. Because the Knicks are a team that I think with Cat are offensively really hard to deal with. And if they're getting those extra possessions, they're a team that can certainly maximize them. And the Warriors have scored 130 in their last 2. The Knicks are a team that can score 130 points. And the Warriors' defense has got to be up for that challenge. All right, this is Warriors Live, presented by Xfinity at Homer on the Go. You'll get the fastest internet to all your devices. Evan Giddings with you, live outside at Chase Center at Splash at Thrive City. Stop on by and grab some food, grab a pop. I mean, they got March Madness on. Apparently, they got some tennis going. Carlos Alcaraz is playing Jack Draper. And they got this awesome ticker, too, where you can see all the different scores from around both the NBA, college basketball, and any single game you want. Just ask for it. They'll throw it up on one of these massive screens, and you can enjoy your time. As for our out-of-town game of the night, presented by San Francisco International Airport, wherever your team goes, you can get there from SFO. Looking around the association tonight, I mean, I do think, obviously, with the nationally televised aspect of this, the Warriors and the Knicks are probably the best game on the slate. But if we're paying attention to where the Warriors are in regards to the Western Conference, the games you want to watch, probably Memphis against the Heat. Memphis is hosting Miami. And then the one you're hoping for a massive upset in, which I personally don't see happening, would be the Houston Rockets hosting the Chicago Bulls. And that one tips off in about 10 minutes. So that's the one you're hoping for. Can kind of, I don't know, maybe the Rockets don't have a great shooting night. Josh Giddey's been playing better for the Bulls, but they're 10 games below 500. And then Nikola Vucevic has one of his 30 burgers and, scorches it from three-point range. But the Warriors quite simply just need to keep winning because as things stand right now in the Western Conference, Golden State's in 6th. They're right now tied with Minnesota, who also plays this weekend. You'd like to maintain that even advantage because you have the tiebreaker against them. The Los Angeles Lakers right now are 2.5 games in front of Golden State, so you can climb within 2 games if you're able to win tonight. And then obviously Memphis, Houston right now, and Denver have slid up a couple of spots as well in the Western Conference standings. So 3.5 games to Memphis, 3.5 games to Houston, and, of course, the 4.5 games of the Denver Nuggets. So, this is a Western Conference that's looking very tough to handle, but the Warriors have taken care of their own business, and that's what they needed to continue to do. And this is not going to be an easy 3-game stretch. I don't think this is going to be an easy game for the Warriors. If they're able to handle New York, I would be very, very impressed. And it's because I think the Knicks are a quality team. The one thing that does give me pause about the Knicks is generally they have beaten up everyone beneath them, under 500. They have not been able to beat good teams. Against teams above 500, they are 3-7 in their last 10 games, and they lost by an average margin of 10 points. So again, for those gamblers out there that have the Warriors tonight, that's a stat that should make you feel good. I just feel like with the way that the Warriors have been, they've been winning games, but I think they've been kind of teetering a little bit. And some of the bad habits that we've seen over the last 4 or 5, going back to the end of that road trip, I don't know if it catches up with them tonight and they lose, but I think they're going to be in for a dogfight against a Knicks team that gets back their best offensive weapon. And that's just kind of the way that I see things right now. But the Warriors obviously get a big boost in terms of Jonathan Kuminga being back. I think he'll have a successful game tonight because the Knicks are a team that when they play Cat are not great defensively, especially when it comes to protecting the rim. Like earlier this season, I think Karl-Anthony Towns was, in terms of percentage of field goals attempted inside of the paint when he's the primary defender, was one of the worst in the league. And he gives you a lot of stuff on the other end, but he also gives up his fair share of points. As for what's coming up next here on 95.7 The Game, Tim Roy is going to have the remainder of your network pregame right before the 5:30 tip right here on 95.7 The Game between the Warriors and the Knicks. If you want to stop by Splash at Thrive City after the game, if you're listening headed on the way in, pop by after the game, grab a refreshment, say what's up. I'll be here for Warriors wrap-up, setting this thing up. And also, by the way, just take it a little easy out there. I know it's St. Paddy's Day weekend. It's on Monday. Most people are celebrating today. I was down by Market Street. It was a fantastic parade. Just take it a little bit easy tonight, okay? I know everyone's feeling great. It's feeling lubricated, a lot like the offense right now for the Warriors. But just take it. Be responsible tonight. How about that? So if you're tuning in after the game, if you're going to slide by Splash, say what's up, but be responsible tonight and enjoy the game along with the rest of the St. Paddy's Day weekend like the rest of us. All right, my name is Evan Giddings. I will talk to you after the game right here on 95.7 The Game for Warriors wrap-up. But as we turn our attention now to the Knicks, Tim Roy will have the rest of your network pregame coming up when we return. Again, Warriors, Knicks, 5:30 tip. All right here on 95.7 The Game. I'll talk to you after the game on Warriors Wrap-Up. In the meantime, enjoy the context.